This is a Hope 1032 podcast.
Hello, welcome to Undistracted. I'm your host, Laura Bennett, and this is the podcast where we learn from our guests how to be better at building our lives with intention around our passions, our purpose, and dealing with some of the stuff that can get in the way of it. You can subscribe wherever you're listening, rate, review this podcast. It helps other people find it. And you can also find video versions of many of these episodes on the Hope 1032 YouTube channel. Since her debut album, How Can It Be, in 2015, Grammy-winning artist Lauren Daigle has brought joy and soul and seemingly boundless energy to stages globally. Her latest self-titled album was the first in 5 years, and Lauren brought new definition to her sound and identity as an artist. With the highs, though, come the lows, and before Aussie fans see Lauren in November, she spoke to me about the pressures of fame, the evolution of her calling, and how she keeps her joy authentic.
I remember when I got the question mark, it was at the end of last year. Do you want to go to Australia and New Zealand? And I said, 1,000%. Where are we going to fit it in? It's like, where do we add it to the calendar? And so I'm so grateful to be coming. I love Australia to my core. It's one of my favorite places in the entire world. It's just so beautiful. And the people, they actually remind me of the culture that I grew up in. And I don't know if it's that they're like British exiles and we were French exiles and there's just like a little bit of ruckus underneath everything. But that is the way that the culture I grew up in was built. And so I feel like there's a lot of fun similarities. Australians tend to be lighthearted, really fun people. So I enjoy going.
And we're going to be really excited to have you because there's something I think about your music that hits people no matter where they're from. There's this thread of joy that seems so needed in the world right now. You talk about fitting in Australia into your schedule, New Zealand into your schedule. You have been taking this message of joy and everything that your tour brings right around the world. What are you noticing about how people respond to that enthusiasm, that colour as you sing on stage?
It is beautiful. The visual that I get to behold night after night after night, just standing on stage, I find myself enamored and truly in a space of awe, because my vantage point that I get to see from people's faces lighting up to tears falling down people's eyes, out of people's eyes and down their faces. And sometimes I see people embracing and it's like such a long embrace that you can tell there's something underneath this, it is really profound. And to get to spread joy and to see people showing up to the shows with outfits and posters and with excitement, every now and then I get these little sneak peek moments where I'm able to go outside and look at the crowds as they line in, and everyone is just so exhilarated. And it's a beautiful visual because I agree. I feel like there's so many things that can tear us apart right now, or so many pressures that the world, I feel like, is under, especially in times like these. And to be able to remind people that God desires unity. With unity, there's blessing. And it is a beautiful picture of seeing people unified and allowing that joy to infect every heart. It's like the kind of infection that you want, it's the good kind of infection. And I get to watch it night after night after night. It's really, really special.
How do you keep the joy authentic? Because, it's one thing to be in the mood and feel enthusiastic and feel like, you want to have some fun. But I imagine like on the tough days, it could all feel like a little bit of an act, right? So how do you keep it authentic?
Absolutely. The thing that I've learned, anytime you engage with pressure, like anytime you find yourself, back up against the wall, whatever you want to call it, there's a decision that you get to make. And it's, do I allow my circumstance to dictate my joy, or do I allow the people around me and what God can do for those people do I allow that to be the thing that I focus on? And I think being fully transparent, the beginning part of touring was really tough in that regard. I remember if my voice was feeling shaky or if I wasn't feeling good, I would feel really discouraged before getting on stage.
Mm.
But one thing that I can say that remains authentic and just pure is the second you see someone's face transform in the wake of a song, or as you see a little girl who has been waiting for so long to go to that concert.
Mm.
Whenever you encounter that moment, it really allows the things that you've been overwhelmed about or stressed out about or consumed by, it makes those dissolve. And I think in a way that's truly a gift,
Mm.
because there are a lot of pressures with this, and navigating those pressures are a very real thing. But if you can keep at the center point people and the purpose of why you do what you do, if you can allow those to become louder, then in the moment that you have to encounter that reality of, am I going to pick stress or am I going to pick people? Like
Mm.
which one is going to win in this moment? When you're actually confronted with that situation, if you remind yourself of the purpose, you'll always pick the people.
Yeah, it's a really nice way to frame it, because I think for many of the people listening, music is one of the things that can lift us out of some of the heaviness in whatever the expectations we may carry in our own lives might be. And your music certainly brings that to a lot of us. Is music and even the songs you write a gift to you in the same way? Like, does it give you the same release you think that perhaps it gives some listeners?
Oh, absolutely. 1,000%. I mean, when I sing Rescue, that I feel like I'm soaring,
Mm.
and I feel like in the moments of desperation when people have needed to feel like they're loved or needed to feel like they're cherished or that they are seen in the midst of their circumstance, those songs allow their spirit, even just but for a moment, to do that very thing. So I definitely feel like I am an equal recipient of what some of these songs can do. And, on my darkest days, for me, it's singing, being able to sing these lyrics over myself, being able to sing in the midst of what might feel overwhelming or difficult, singing through it, the physical act of singing, and singing something with a message that is revitalizing and redeeming. That to me is one of the most fulfilling things I could ever do. And it's also the thing that carries me uh, the strongest. I feel like those are the arms that I can really lean into.
Mm. And listening to you speak, your fans who've been with you for a long time, they'll know this, but maybe some newer fans are really starting to pick this up as well. You clearly come to your craft with intentionality. Like, you're not mucking about in what you want to bring people and the value that you see in what you're writing and the power of it. Has that sense of calling and purpose in your music, is that something that has evolved and shifted since you first began performing? Or do you feel like you're just amplifying something that's always been there?
That is a great question. I feel like when I was a little girl, I was placed on homebound. Like I had to stay at home for about a year and a half because of an illness. And yeah, it meant I missed a lot of my high school, a lot of the fun times. But there was this period in that where my mom, she was a school teacher, and she said, I'm going to quit my job and come home to take care of you. And I remember telling her, Mom, something is happening. Like, I feel like I'm encountering God. God is doing something in my heart. And if you move home, like it's going to interrupt or
Mm.
distract that. I mean, if you come home from work, like it's going to distract or interrupt that happening. And so she ended up staying back and working. And I was literally a 15-year-old by myself at home every day, all day long.
Mm.
And I say that to say something was built inside of me in that season. And I remember saying, God, if you get me out of this, I'll tell the world about the hope. I will sing about hope that I found in you.
Mm.
And to be able to do that all these years later. Now, what I do think has evolved and transpired over the time is that God has allowed my understanding of that to deepen, to become more rich. Um,
Right.
as the years have progressed. Like I never knew that the songs would go the distance that they have in people's hearts and in people's stories. Like I didn't realize the capacity that a song could bear. And
Mm.
so I think that is something that I've learned from and I've grown from since the beginning of wanting to share hope with
Mm.
everyone.
And that wanting to share hope, that I think is such a gift, right? We've said this is a time in the world where there is so much going on for people. What is the kind of message, I suppose, through your music that you really want people to connect with? Whether it is hope, whether it is something that gives them a sense of deeper connectedness to each other, to the world. What is it that you're really driving at?
Well, what I've found that evolves is it's the story of the human condition. And sometimes whenever we can see ourselves in a song, it also lends us to see our neighbor and the person next to us walking on the streets, or our actual physical neighbor. Or there are moments where I've realized that music being a universal language, if you can see yourself in a song, you come to a show and the person next to you is engaging with that same song in the same sort of way, it really brings us together. And it
Mm.
reminds us of, wow, the human condition is a pretty remarkable thing, because even though our paths and our journeys can be so individualistic at moments, the things that we long for are all innate and beautiful and very similar.
Mm.
And so I love that. I love allowing people to find themselves in the stories of these songs. But the thing that is so remarkable about the human condition is that there is a love so much greater. And it is the love of God. And it's Him moving through the songs to share His love with all of humanity. And that's the thing that I get really excited about.
Hmm.
So it's the message of hope, it's the message of joy, it's the message of love, of acceptance, and of kindness, and feeling like you might have felt like an orphan, but you find a family in some of these songs. And
Hmm.
that is the thing that I long for.
It's pretty inspiring hearing you talk about it. And I think even hearing you talk about your time as a 15-year-old, reflecting on that season of life, that'd be a massive inspiration to so many, particularly just how attuned you were to what was going on. Like your ability to perceive that, hey, I think something important is happening here. There's probably adults listening right now, even maybe some teenagers too, who think, I wish I just had that same ability to sense what God is doing or to sense purpose in my season. How do you feel like we develop that? How do we build an attunement to those significant things that might be happening in our lives?
Oh, that's an incredible question. Your questions are amazing. I find that this stillness, like sitting still and being still, is really important. And it's hard. That is so hard for me. I am someone that likes to move.
No
And
surprises.
as you can see in my tour schedule, I don't like to be still. But the truth of the matter is, I actually got a book today. I haven't started reading it. I don't know much about it, but it's called The 5 a.m. Club. And it talks about owning your morning. Do you know about this book?
No, but I'm just imagining that setting an alarm that
Okay.
early and going, all right, let's get into it.
Yeah. There is a reason why I do not do morning radio, and this is it. Like, I do not know how people do it. But I told my friend, I said, I'm going to buy this book called The 5 a.m. Club, and I'm going to turn it into the 8 a.m. Club, because let's be honest, I do not want to wake up 1 minute before that. But it talks about owning your morning, and your morning being a time that sets up the rest of your life. And I think finding that for me, when I was 15 to 17 is when I was sick. In that season, the second I would wake up, I would dedicate a portion of my morning to just listening to what God has. And whether it was like this, there's this devotional I read, it was called 1 Minute of Praise. And it literally is a devotional that is 1 minute. And I mean, who doesn't have at least 1 minute that they can devote to just being still?
Hmm.
And that 1 minute a day turned into 5 minutes, turned into 10 minutes, turned into 30 minutes, turned into an hour, turned into hours. And before you know it, you're you're finding yourself so in love with the presence of God that you're like being transformed. And that to me is what happened. And that's actually really hard to do nowadays because there's so much technology. There's phones at our fingertips every 5 seconds. And, 20 years ago when I was in that season, that wasn't the scenario. 15 years ago, that wasn't the case. And so I think really being dedicated to an element of stillness, whether it's just 10 minutes a day, I think that is vital in order to allow, as you said, the attunement, that process to take place. For me, it has to come from stillness.
And I think of how hard, that is for those of us that live in one city and just have a regular 9 to 5 type of job, let alone someone like yourself who's constantly going from city to city and, country to country, experiencing so much and yet wanting to stay grounded as well. Like the groundedness side of your life, I don't imagine that's always an easy thing to stay connected to.
Absolutely. The grounded nature of things can be wild, but what I try to do, and there's a couple of chunks this year this is not going to be the case, but I made a rule where I have to go home every 2 weeks, no matter where I'm at in the country, no matter what tour I'm on or what I'm doing. There is a 2 week mark that I have to be home. And that to me, being around family, being around loved ones, changing people's diapers, their nieces and nephews' diapers, and doing your laundry and waking up and making your breakfast in the morning, like those things that might sound like chores to some people are actually gifts. And there is a stillness that you can find even in that. I know a lot of my solitude moments come just folding laundry. And I know that sounds like, okay, well, that's just so normal and so cliche. But the truth of the matter is I've found those spaces to be gifts in what can be just utter chaos, like movement all the time. I mean, an airport like 3 or 4 times a week sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think last year there was a day where I was in an airport 7 times in 5 days or something. It's just it's crazy. And so with that much movement, you can say that being grounded gets really difficult, but sticking close to family, that my family, they love me to the core. And if I was a school teacher, a nurse or a singer, they could care less. They just love me for who I am. And so that being the case, I think is really important to come back to. Like when I go home, my mom's not like, oh, let me cater to you. You don't have to do your dishes, but all the other kids do. She's like,
what's your rider in this kitchen?
Yeah, exactly. Like there is none of that. It's just true love. And that's important to come around to. It's important to not just be the person that provides for everyone in certain ways, to come around to just being Lauren is really vital. And so I make that a priority in order to stay grounded. The other thing is when you're not grounded, if you find yourself experiencing pride or arrogance or any of that, it is so isolating. Nobody wants to hang out with the arrogant person. Nobody wants to be friends with the person who thinks they're better than everyone else. And so I think that if you find yourself experiencing any pride or whatever, that gets really lonely. And I like being with people way too much. I have way too much FOMO. Check this out.
Yeah. And it's tough because if you're in an industry, I mean, I suppose all of us in different ways can experience this, but if you're in a position, I suppose, where people are complimenting what you do, if they're really supportive of what you do, if you're getting that kind of affirmation, it can be so easy for pride to creep in different ways. And like even one of your songs, you reference that kind of ego space where you actually have to say enough of this. Like it's got to be an intentional choice to address something like that can otherwise just take over when we don't really notice it all the time.
Oh yeah, 1,000%. It can be super subtle. Like you can find yourself in this space where, I mean, okay, this is a great example. When I wake up in the morning, we have a catering team. So you walk off the bus, you go into a venue, there's food. And that sounds so simple. Like, well, duh, you have to get food somehow. But knowing that every second of your day is accounted for, and then you move on from that, and then all of a sudden you're in a meet and greet, you're on stage, you're in a Q&A. There's all these spaces that can tell you, look how important you are, look how important you are, look how important you are. And so that's why their song Ego, I wrote that with some friends because I said, if we continue the celebration of fame and fortune in this generation, we are going to ruin the next generation. Like if we celebrate this and make this out to be something that it's not, this is what fame is. Fame is a brilliant and beautiful platform that you can impact lives in the most positive ways.
Yeah.
And it also comes with a world of responsibilities that kids don't necessarily dream of, And so it can be a complete and total mirage as well. And I think definitely in American society, I don't know, I don't think it's as intense in Australia, which is a beautiful thing. American society can make fame the priority of life more than anything else. It can make success the priority of life more than anything else, more than your family, more than your friends, more than your future. Fame, fame, fame. And people will do anything for it. And I think watching that is really sad. And what it does is it feeds the ego. And if you don't take moments to have like a checks and balances list with your ego, it'll just completely take you over. So I told my friends, I was like, I want to write a song that actually encourages the next generation, hey, it's a beautiful thing to not have an ego. It's a beautiful thing to not have to live your entire life hoping that you get 1 million views on TikTok. Like that's actually a really beautiful thing. And that a lot of this is a mirage and it's not fulfilling in the way that people think that it would be,
Yeah, it's a difficult thing to carry. And I'm so grateful for the way that you express and address that kind of stuff, because there are a generation of people watching on, and that in and of itself, is a big responsibility to carry, knowing all of these people that are looking up to people like you and many others as well to say, hey, what do we do next? And I know it seems for you too that you're very intentional about who you then surround yourself with, that you've got friends, you've got family who can help you stay on track with these kind of goals. Most recently seeing you on stage with Ellie Holcomb, an artist and a woman that I love. I so respect what she does. Talk about that kind of...
Same.
Oh, she's just amazing. But your selection in friends, I suppose, those people that you will bring in close, what do you look for in them?
Humility is definitely one of those things. Like when I feel like I can be comfortable around them, when I don't have to feel like everything is just completely perfect and buttoned up, when I can let loose and let my hair down, that type of personality and that type of character is something that's really important to me. Someone that thinks about others as important, if not more important than themselves. And Ellie is absolutely one of those people. Someone that you can make mistakes in front of and they don't judge you or criticize you, because there's a lot of pressure when you get into a writing room or when you get into the studio, or it's just basically a critique machine if you don't do it the right way. And so surrounding yourself with people who actually love art and love creativity and love people, those are the things that I really look for. And those are the kind of people that I love to be around, who understand, okay, this gift is just to be a vessel. And I am so excited that I get to be a part of making music and exploring creativity and giving that to the world, for the sole purpose of encouraging somebody or touching someone's life. Like that to me is something I look for. And those are the people that inspire me to also work harder at what I do and keep focused on making the main thing the main thing.
Absolutely. And in building a genuine friendship like that, someone that you can trust as a friend, that's one thing. But then when you bring your creative talents and you bring your studio space, I suppose, to somebody and you're wanting to invite them into that arena, I guess that might be something different, right? Like with collaborators who you're going to have the vulnerability to say, this is what I'm thinking, this is what I'm feeling, this is what I want to share. Is there something that you really gravitate toward in the people that you'll collaborate with from a musical songwriting perspective?
Oh, absolutely. So Natalie Hemby, she is like water to the soul. And I met her at the very, very beginning of this last record, writing for this record. And she opened the door to her studio, and I was, standing there, and she gave me a bear hug. We had never met. And she gave me a bear hug, and we probably hugged for a solid 30 seconds, 20, 25 seconds, which is a long
That's
time
a long
for someone
hug.
you've never met. Yeah. And I remember thinking to myself, this is absolutely beautiful. Like, she understands me. I feel like I could really be myself with her. I could talk about things of the heart. She created a really safe environment for me to explore and unravel and question and share my fears, share my regrets, share guilt, share pains, share joys, share curiosities. Like, there is just a template of warmth and I don't know, that she just really sets up in her writing environment. And so once that's established, then add on top of it the layer of she is a brilliant songwriter who is insanely creative and has written hits for artists of all genres. Like, her talent and her craft just add to the nature of who she is. And so those are the kind of things in a writing environment that I look for, people who care about the soul and who desire to hear the soul land itself in a lyric or weave its way into a melody, and who are thinking about the recipient of the song. Like, who are the people on the other side of this that are going to be impacted? And how do you most authentically tell your story and your experience through these songs? Like, those are the people that I look for, because there's definitely a manufactured side to making music now, and it's a machine, and you can just pump out song after song after song, but that's not my desire. My desire is, how do I impact the world? And so to find people who carry that same mission and that same intentionality is really important to me.
What an absolute gem of a person. Lauren Daigle bringing her Kaleidoscope Nights tour to Australia and New Zealand in November. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. You can rate it, review it. Let me know what you think. Find me on Instagram at laura.bennett_. You can email if you like to go old school, undistracted@hope1032.com.au. And until next time, enjoy living this undistracted life.